lot of times I'll tell people we're a blended family, and people are like, oh, I bet it's like the Brady Bunch. I'm like, it's like the first 15 minutes of Saving Private Ryan. So I was a single dad for a while, and it was fine, and I was just gonna focus on that. I was not interested in going out with anybody or relationships, but then all of a sudden, randomly, I met this amazing woman on one of the 7 dating apps I'd signed up for, and no, we really did meet online, which now that we're married makes me nervous, because now I know she returns almost everything she gets online. But no, I'm not worried, because I knew she was so in love with me after our second date, because she started to ignore me. And no, here's the deal. You never really know until you're married and living with somebody. Like, when we were dating, I noticed that her apartment was immaculately clean, but it wasn't until 2 months into being married that I met her cleaning lady. But here's the deal. This was the moment that I knew she was the one, and it was when we were planning the wedding. Because here's the deal. For a while, I was a single dad, and so we had this house, and so I said to her, hey, because, we were paying for the wedding. Me. That's why I used to be confused by the term fiance, and then I got one, and I was like, oh, I understand it now. It sounds like finance me. But here's why she's perfect for me. We were talking about the wedding, and I was like, hey, whatever we don't spend on the wedding, we can use to remodel our house, because she was moving in our house, and I knew there was going to be some, changes, like, we had a big ping pong table in the living room, so we'd probably have to take the net down so we could pass the plates during dinner time. And so she was like, wait a minute, we can spend whatever we don't spend on the wedding on the house? And I was like, yeah. She disappeared. She came back 30 minutes later. She was like, it's planned. I was like, what do you mean it's planned? What about invitations? She goes, I emailed everyone. I was like, really? What about a cake? She was like, Betty Crocker got an invite. And I was like, what about music? She said, DJ Alexa just confirmed. I was like, well, wait a minute, we're getting married on the beach. What about renting chairs? She was like, in the email, I put it BYOC. Bring your own chairs, baby. I was like, I was so in love. I was like, wait a minute, you wanted to release doves at the end of the service. And she was like, oh, we're still doing that. I just emailed everybody and told them to bring a shotgun, and that'll take care of the meal. So... Oh, it was the best wedding ever. I mean, some of our friends got mad because we charged for parking. Yeah. They did not buy anything from my merch table that night, but we stood in front of our friends and our family. I gave her a ring, or I bought her a ringtone. And no, now when people call her, she thinks of me. And we did the vows, and then we swung by JCPenney's, returned the dress, and started our life. It was the best. And not only is she amazing, but she also gave me 2 amazing bonus kids. So these are my kids. So Coulter, Trent, Xander. My 2 bonus kids are Dylan and Mason. In fact, I think I have time for this. I want to brag on my wife, because I love people that love other people. And the first time I talked to her, I didn't know she had kids. And she mentioned something, and I was like, oh, you have kids? How many kids do you have? And she goes, I have 2 boys. And I don't know why I did this, but I went, ugh. She goes, what do you mean, ugh? And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I haven't thought about it, but I don't know if I want more kids, which is terrible to say. This is what she said to me. She was like, no matter what happens between you and I hope you get the mentality that 2 more kids is 2 more opportunities to love and to be loved. Isn't that amazing? And then she was like, how many do you have? And I said 3. And we got disconnected. And... But yeah, so we're a blended family, which always sounds like... a lot of times I'll tell people we're a blended family, and people are like, oh, I bet it's like the Brady Bunch. I'm like, it's like the first 15 minutes of Saving Private Ryan. With way more cussing. No, it's fine now. It's just at the time, blending the family, especially all the boys, because her 2 boys grew up mostly without a dad, and my 3 boys grew up mostly without an adult. And I tried. I remember a lady from our church called, and she was like, you want me to come teach your kids stuff? And I was offended. I was like, what do you mean teach? And she was like, like dishes and laundry. And I was like, no, we can do it all at once. We have a huge pool. So... But even like how we eat, like the way because I grew up a redneck. I grew up a hunter. My kids are big hunters. I hope that's okay to talk about, like, because I know that offends some people. Yeah, so I live north of Houston, Texas, and we have this really bad infestation going on right now. We call them Californians, and. And they actually moved in when I was still a single dad. And I always forget that not everybody grew up hunting and eating everything that they hunt. And this California family, so in our neighborhood, the Smiley household was known as kind of the frat house, but also we're the Christian house. Everybody knows that the Smiley boys are Christians. And this California family was part of the cult, I know it sounds bad, but where they try to get everybody else to join. Vegetarians. And here's the deal. I never want to offend anybody, but if you're here tonight and you're vegetarian, I don't care. I used to worry about offending vegetarians, and then it hit me one day. I was like, why am I worried? They're not going to attack me. I'm made out of meat. But we always have neighborhood kids over, and this mom, I hadn't even met her. She comes over the next day, and her son had eaten dinner at our house, and I forget that not everybody hunts and cooks everything. And she knocked on the door, and she's like, did you feed my son last night? Squirrel? I was like, ma'am, we call it chicken of the tree. But I tell you that because my three boys and I, we eat all of the stuff like that. And then now we've got my two bonus kids, and my wife is a gourmet cook, and she likes the nice, finer thing. In fact, the first couple months we were married, I thought she gave monthly to a German orphanage because I did not know what Nordstrom's was. But even meals, blending a family meal. The first meal I made for everybody, I made chicken legs. I made drumsticks, right? And I made like 50 of them, and I put them on the table. And my oldest bonus kid goes, what is that? And I was like, that's a chicken leg. And he goes, and I've never heard this phrase before, but he goes, is that meat on the bone? I was like, I guess it's meat on the bone. He goes, we don't eat meat on the bone. I looked at my three boys. They had a drumstick in each hand. I was like, you better start, because once the prayer's done, your option's going to be bone. Right? So that was like how we handle conflict and stuff. My wife, and I'm not saying this is wrong, but she raised her two boys with emotions and feelings. You guys are quiet. I'm not saying that my boys and I don't have emotions and feelings, okay? You guys got super quiet. My three boys and I have cried together, okay? We're Dallas Cowboy fans. But how we handle, here's an example. So I was up in Mason's room, my youngest bonus kid, putting the clothes away, looked in the corner, he had a pet bird, and it had died. I know. My first thought was, we had a bird? I didn't know, because we have 5 boys living upstairs. I never go up because of the smell. But he did. He had a bird, and it died. I don't even know how. Probably old age, just found it right in my dog's mouth. And I know, I felt terrible, but I was also very grateful that I found it because I'm a hunter. I know how to handle stuff like that. My wife is squeamish, so I knew what to do. I wrestled it from the dog, cleaned it off, put it back in the cage. I made it look like a suicide. So, you should have read the note. It was so good. I'm an emotional cage of despair. I'm no longer flying high. I'm a cheap version of myself. It was awesome. No, that part's a joke. My wife went through kind of the same thing that I went through in her first marriage, and so we have trust issues. We're all very honest, so I told her. Also, because she walked in while I was wrestling it from the dog. I know. So anyway, she listed my dog on Craigslist. That's not the point of the story. This is how we've raised our kids different. I would have texted my boys and said the bird died. She said, let's get all the children together after school and we will break the news and then we will let them individually talk about how it makes them feel. Yeah, no, don't go, oh boy. I was on board. I was thinking, this is going to be a good TikTok. Because my boys make jokes. That's how they were raised. But then I thought, no, we're blending a family. This is a great opportunity to love on one another. And I thought, I'm going to text my boys and say, hey, there's some big news coming, and we're not going to make jokes. We're going to support one another and love one another, and we're going to blend our family even closer together today. You got to give me props, man. That's pretty smart, right? Yeah, I really wish I'd have remembered. I write this book series for middle school kids called The Adventures of Average Boy, and I was working on the fourth book, and I got so caught up that I just looked up, and it was after 3, and I ran in the living room, and all 5 boys were standing there, and I'm looking over my wife's shoulder to try to catch my boys' eyes to be like, don't laugh. Yeah, it was a waste of time. I was the first one to laugh. Well, here's the deal. I did not know they named that bird the Godfeather. She was like, our pet bird, the Godfeather. I was like, it did not go. So if you want a dog and a husband, go to Craigslist. But no, she broke the news, and I'm looking at my 3 boys like, be with me now. Let's support our blended family. And my 3 boys were sitting, and my oldest, who's most like me, was like, we had a bird? My middle one goes, oh, cool. Now we can play badminton. I looked at my youngest, Xander, and I was like, please redeem the Smiley name. And he goes, looks like we're having meat on the bone tonight. Oh, my goodness, my wife was so mad. She gave me the bird.